Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Happy to see you all again. So this is a very important video. Please don't ever skip or miss it. Okay, here we have talked about multiple things. Here we have talked about the manual testing concepts, and we have talked about the different types of scenarios applicable for different concepts, and we have talked about agile methodologies, and we have talked about database and SQL concepts and the commonly asked SQL queries, and we have talked about the application programming interface, and we have talked about the object oriented programming basics, and we have talked about the Selenium WebDriver used for web automation, and we have talked about the JMeter concepts, and we have talked about the automation testing general questions. Okay, and also we have talked about the aptitude questions, nothing but logical questions. We have discussed all these topics step by step in detail along with answers and also the study notes for better understanding. Okay, please stay tuned. If you need this PDF, I have given a link in the description. Please do check out, and also in the comment section please do check out. Okay, so let's get started. The chapter 1 is about the software development lifecycle. Here we have discussed about what is SDLC and why SDLC is important, and the different phases of SDLC, that's the requirement analysis, feasibility study, and design, coding, testing, and deployment and maintenance. Okay, and in the each phase we have talked about a particular topic, like what exactly is the requirement gathering or the analysis, and what does exactly the design stage contains, and what does we do in the development or coding, and what does we do in the testing phase, and what does we do in the deployment phase. Okay, and then next we have discussed about the popular SDLC models. We have talked about waterfall model, and we have talked about the incremental model. We have talked about the V model, that's nothing but verification and validation model, and we have talked about the agile model, and we have talked about the spiral model, and we have talked about the prototyping model. Okay, in the chapter 2 we have discussed about the STLC and principles of software testing to be followed. Okay, here we have discussed about what is software testing, what are the principles of software testing, and we have discussed about what is STLC, what are quality assurance and quality control, what are quality assurance and quality control standards, what is verification and validation in software testing. In the chapter 3, we have discussed about the testing documents. That's what is a test plan document, what is a test strategy, what is test suite, what is test scenario, what is test case, and what are the components of test case, what is test bed, what is test environment, what is test data, what is test harness, what is test closure, what is risk factor and its type, and what are the tasks of test closure activities in software testing, and what are the test deliverables after completing the testing. Okay, these are all very important, don't ever miss it, in they will ask in interview. Okay, what is RTM and the types of RTM: forward traceability matrix, backward or reverse traceability matrix, and bidirectional traceability matrix. Okay, and how to create the requirement traceability matrix with a sample example. What is a test coverage? In the chapter 4 we have talked about the methods and types of software testing. Okay, so totally there are 3 methods of software testing, or the types: white box testing, black box testing, and gray box testing. White box testing, what exactly it is, what is a black box testing, what is a gray box testing, what are the 3 different types of software testing, uh, apart from this: alpha testing, beta testing, and gamma testing. What is a functional testing? What is unit or module testing? What is integration testing? What is a system testing? What is smoke testing? What is sanity testing? And then again, what is regression testing? What is retesting? What is exploratory testing? What is a shift left testing? What is a monkey testing? What is a big bang approach? What is top down approach? What is bottom up approach? What is user acceptance testing or UAT testing? What is positive and negative testing? What is non-functional testing? What is performance testing? What is load testing? What is volume testing? What is stress testing? What is scalability testing? What is concurrency testing? What is GUI testing? What is recovery testing? What is installation testing? What is formal testing and what is risk-based testing? What is compatibility testing? What is usability testing? What is security testing? What is soak testing? What is fuzz testing? What is ad hoc testing? What is interface testing? What is reliability testing? What is bucket testing? What is interoperability testing? What is defect cascading? What is walkthrough? What is inspection? Who are all involved in an inspection meeting? What is a defect? What is an error? What is a failure? What is a bug severity? What is a bug priority? What is a critical bug? What are the entry criterias? What are the exit criterias? What are the differences between build and release? What is meant by canary release? What is the test management reviews and audit? What exactly we do? And next chapter we have discussed about the techniques of software testing. What is boundary value analysis? What is decision table testing? How to make a decision table for upload screen sample? Okay. And what is equivalence partitioning? And what is state transition? Guys, we have explained everything with a diagram. Please try to understand. It's very easily you'll get. Okay. And error guessing. In the chapter this 6, we have talked about some of the important common concepts and interview questions. What is the difference between a standalone application, client server application and web application? What are the main differences between UI and UX? And yeah, can you do a system testing at any stage of SDLC? When to stop testing, or how do you decide when you have tested enough? What information should be included in a defect or a bug report? What are the test case for glass of water? Who will review your test case if QA manager is not available or did not have the knowledge? What we will do if a defect is found at last moment of the release? What do you do when a defect is found on the production? Okay, all these are scenario based interview questions. What are the test cases for AC and AC remote? Okay. And do you have an understanding of security concepts such as JWT, JSON Web Tokens, JWS, JSON Web Signature and HTTPS? Why you should choose SQA, Senior Quality Engineer, or the Quality Engineer, or Test Lead, or Test Manager, or Test Architect, or Junior Level Tester as a profession? What are the top 5 challenges faced by every QA? Okay, in the chapter 7 we have discussed about the roadmap for mobile application testing. Here we have discussed about the functional testing. Here we have discussed about Android or iOS UI or responsiveness testing and compatibility testing, and we have discussed about the interface testing, about the network testing, about the performance testing, about the installation and uninstallation testing, and we have discussed about the security testing, field testing, interrupt testing. In the chapter 8, we have discussed about the agile methodology and concepts. Here we have discussed about what is agile testing, what's the difference between burn up and burn down charts, define the roles in Scrum, what is a product backlog and sprint backlog, explain the velocity in agile, difference between traditional waterfall model and agile testing, explain the pair programming and its benefits, what is refactoring, explain the iterative and incremental development in agile, how do you deal when requirements changes frequently, what is a test stub, what qualities should a good agile tester have, what is the difference between epic user stories and tasks, what is a task board in agile, what is test driven development, how QA can add value to an agile team, what is a Scrum ban, what is the application binary interface, what is the zero sprint in agile, what is spike, name some agile quality strategies, what is the difference between what is the importance of daily stand-up meetings, what is a tracer bullet, how the velocity of sprint is measured, how many types of Scrum meeting we have usually, the sprint review meeting, sprint retrospective meeting and sprint planning meeting. Yeah, okay. And then in the chapter 9 we have discussed about the database and SQL concepts. Okay, what is a database, what is SQL, what are the tables, what are tables in SQL, what are the different types of statements supported by SQL. Okay, there are generally 5 different statements, but commonly used ones are DDL, data definition language commands, and DML, data manipulation language, and data control language. Okay, and there are other two. Okay, so for select and a few other granting and revoking the commits. Oh, sorry. For other reasons, guys. Okay, and how do we use distinct statement and what is its use? What are the different clauses used in SQL? Okay, you can see, right? So where clause, group by clause, having clause, order by clause, using clause. And why do we use SQL constraints? Which constraints we can use while creating a database in SQL? Constraints in the sense primary key, foreign key, not null, unique, and check. Okay, what is the difference between null and empty? What are the different types of joins frequently used? Okay, basically inner join, left join, also known as left outer join. Here we can see, right, we have discussed everything with a sample of query and also the expected output. Okay, and we have discussed about the right join, right outer join, and we have discussed about the full join or full outer join. Okay, all these are the sample examples to understand. What are transactions and their controls? Okay, what are the properties of transaction? How many aggregate functions are available in SQL? What are scalar functions? What are triggers? What is a view in SQL? How can we update the view? Explain the working of SQL privileges. How many types of privileges are available in SQL? What is a SQL injection? What is a SQL sandbox in SQL Server? What is the difference between SQL and PL/SQL? What is the difference between SQL and MySQL? What is the use of NVL function? And NVL is nothing but null value, guys. Okay, and why do we what do you mean by subquery? How many row comparison operators are used while working with a subquery? What is the difference between clustered and non-clustered index? What is the difference between delete and truncate? Difference between drop and truncate? Difference between nested query, subquery, and correlated subquery? What is normalization? How many normalization forms are there? What is a relationship? How many types of relationships are there? What is collation? What do we need to check in database testing? What is database white box testing? What is database black box testing? Okay, these are the theoretical part. Next, in the chapter 10, we have discussed about the commonly asked SQL query. Okay, how to write a query to find the highest salary from employees table, how to write a query for finding the second highest salary from the employee table, and how to write a query to show the details of a student from the students table whose name starts with K. How to write the query to find the total number of columns in a table. In the chapter 11, we have discussed about the application programming interface. So here we have discussed about what is an API and why we use API, how many types of API we have in market, and what are the different types of protocols. What's the difference between SOAP and REST API? Can you enlist some common tests that are performed on APIs? What is a API test environment? Can you explain the API testing approach? Can you explain in brief the different types of output observed of an API? Okay. Can you enlist some best practices that are followed to make API testing successful? What are the tools used for API testing? What are the tools used for API test automation? What is the API framework? Explain API documentation. Name some most used templates for API documentation. Enlist some of the API examples which are very well known and popular. What are the testing methods that come under the API testing? Difference between API testing and unit testing. What are the challenges are included under API testing? What are the types of issues observed while performing API testing? Why API testing is determined as the most suitable form for automation testing? How is UI level testing different from API testing? What do you know about API errors and warnings? What are HTTP request and response? Okay, there are different HTTP methods and request and response specifications. Just check it out. Codes, this request and response codes. They might ask you to explain each response code in the interview. Be prepared for that. Okay, and what is the difference between authentication and authorization? What is digest authentication? What is OAuth authentication? Explain the structure of API URL or the given endpoint. What are HTTP cookies? What are the different HTTP status codes? Okay, you see, this is what I am telling. So they might ask you to explain any of the status codes in the interview. So try to learn it. It can be in 2x series, 3x series, 4x series or 5x series. Okay, so this is all about API testing basics that you should be prepared for facing the interviews. Okay, and then in the chapter 12 we have discussed about the object oriented programming. Okay, yeah, I have already made a video on complete Java and JavaScript fundamentals required for QA automation. Please explore that. Here let's discuss only about the object oriented programming basics required for interview. What is OOP? What is the access modifier and the types of access modifier? What is a class? What is an object? What is a method? What is abstraction? What is encapsulation? What is inheritance? What is polymorphism? What is a constructor? What is interface? And what are the problem solving approaches which a automation engineer should have? Okay, and what are the basic coding principles for software development engineer? And in the chapter 13, we have discussed about the Selenium WebDriver. Okay, here we have started from scratch that what is automation testing, what are the benefits of automation testing, why should one use Selenium as a test tool, what is Selenium and the different types of Selenium components, what are the testing types that can be supported by Selenium, what are the limitations of Selenium, why should I use Selenium IDE, what is Selence, what are the different types of locators in Selenium, what is the difference between assert and verify commands, What is an XPath? What is the difference between static XPath and dynamic XPath? When should I use Selenium Grid? How do I launch the browser using WebDriver? What are the different types of drivers available in WebDriver? What are the different types of weights available in WebDriver? Implicit, explicit, and one more thing, fluent weight. Okay, and how to type in text in a text box using Selenium. How can you find if an element is displayed on the screen? How can we get a text of a web element? How to select value in the drop down? What are the different types of navigation commands? How to click on a hyperlink using link text? How to handle frame in WebDriver? When do we use find element and find elements? What is the difference between driver.close and driver.quit commands? Can Selenium handle Windows based pop-up? How can we handle web based pop-up? How to assert the title of the web page? How to mouse over on a web element using WebDriver? How to retrieve CSS property of an element? What is a JUnit? What are JUnit annotations? What is TestNG and how is it better than JUnit? What is a framework? What are the advantages of automation framework? What are the different types of framework? Okay, you can see, right, TDD, BDD and many other. And we have discussed about the page object model. Okay, how can I read the data from the Excel? What is the difference between Selenium and QTP? Can WebDriver test mobile applications? Can CAPTCHA be automated? What is object repository and how can we create an object repository in Selenium? What is an exception? What is exception handling? How to switch tabs in Windows using Selenium? What is self in Python? Okay, and in the chapter 14 we have discussed about the JMeter concepts. Okay, explain the architecture of JMeter. Does JMeter simulate actual browser behavior? What is distributed testing? What is the use of regular expression in JMeter? What are the different types of processes in JMeter? What are the different ways of data parameterization in JMeter? What are the maximum recommended threads on a single system? Explain the difference between Gaussian and Poisson timers. What are the major differences between JMeter and load runner? What is the use of correlation in JMeter? What are the different types of listeners? Explain the flow of test script recorder. Can JMeter record actions from mobile? If yes, how? How to do master slave configuration in JMeter? What are the JMeter supported protocols? Explain the syntax of JMeter variables and functions. Why is it recommended to run JMeter in GUI mode? Is it possible to run Selenium scripts in JMeter? If yes, how? How do you manage sessions and cookies in JMeter? What are the important steps for testing JDBC request? What is a bean shell scripting? Can JMeter measure the performance of a complete application? For example, if you have a multiple screens in your mobile app, can JMeter measure the time taken to flip the screens? What is a root CA certificate? Which factors decide the maximum threads that one should generate per system? What is TD parsing? What are the important plugins that are supported in JMeter? What are the types of controller in JMeter? What are samplers? What are assertions? Okay, and these are the top performance testing interview questions. What are the key performance metrics to consider in performance testing? What is the purpose of a baseline in performance testing? What are the common performance bottlenecks? How do you identify performance bottlenecks? What is a ramp up in performance testing? Okay, so this is a frequently asked performance testing interview questions. In the chapter 15, we have covered the general automation testing interview questions. They are, what are the challenges for a QA automation engineer or a tester and how to handle them? Okay, and we have given some samples along with solutions. Okay, and then in the chapter 16 we have discussed about the aptitude questions. Guys, irrespective of any level, they'll ask this aptitude or the logical questions. Okay, if you have a 5-liter jug and a 3-liter jug, how would you measure exactly 4 liters? Okay, a tricky questions. I gave you 4 tablets which contain 2 for fever and 2 for cold. All of them are all the same size, shape, taste, weight and color. but no cover. You have to take one cold and one fever tablet right now. How will you choose correctly? There is a room with a door closed and three light bulbs. Outside the room, there are three switches connected to the bulbs. Okay, you may manipulate the switches as you wish, but once you open the door, you can't change them. Identify each switch with its bulb. All bulbs are in working condition. Okay, a blind man is alone on a deserted island. He has two blue pills and two red pills. He must take exactly one red pill and one blue pill or he will die. Okay, a newspaper made of 16 large sheets of a paper folded in half. The newspaper has 64 pages altogether, and the first sheet contains pages 1 to 6, 63, 64. If we pick up a sheet containing page number 45, what are the other pages that this sheet contains? Okay, you have a birthday cake to cut into 8 equal pieces by making 3 cuts only. How do you do it? Okay, here which letter replaces the question mark? And a lady bought an item of rupees 100 from the shopkeeper. She paid him through a 500 rupees note. Realizing that he did not have change, the shopkeeper got change for that note from another shopkeeper and paid rupees 400 to the lady. After a few days, yes. Who is yes? The shopkeeper realized that the note given is a fake, and this railed at C. Who? The shopkeeper. Another shopkeeper. Sorry. The another shopkeeper realized that the note is fake and railed at the actual the primary shopkeeper and took 500 rupees back from him. So in this whole process, how much money did C lose in the end? What is half of 2 plus 2? Handshake puzzle formula to calculate the number of handshakes. And you have 9 balls equally big, equally heavy, except for one which is a little heavier. How would you identify the heavier ball if you could use a pair of balance scales only twice? Okay, so thank you guys. So this is all I had for this video. If you need this PDF, I have given a link in the description and also in the comment section. Please do check out. It contains end-to-end interview questions along with answers asked in almost all the companies, and to be prepared for full stack QA automation tester. Okay, so let me know if you have any queries or questions in the comment section or drop me an email. Thank you so much for watching my video. All the best for your upcoming interview. Happy learning, happy testing. Please do share, subscribe, and comment if you have anything. Thank you.